This is My Taste is Better Than Yours, the manga podcast where Guardian Enzo and I, Samu, discuss some of our favourite series and figure out, is my taste better than yours? So we thought the best way to kick this off would to be give a bit of an introduction of who we are, why we're doing this podcast, and also just give an idea of our tastes and what to expect from us. From my side, my name is Samu, and if anyone's familiar, I blogged anime on Random C between 2014 and 2017, which feels also long ago now. And over that time, I was actually quite lucky to cover quite a few of my favorite anime that came out. Things like Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju, Haikyuu, pretty much anything by Kyoto Animation as well. And another series that is quite close to my heart is Bleach, which I was able to cover the manga up until completion as well. But yeah, after then in 2017, I stopped watching anime altogether. Honestly, I just got burnt out and was watching too many shows for too long of a time, to the point where even now I'm only watching a handful a year, and those are typically adaptations of manga that I'm already familiar with and just want to see how they come out in anime form. But I didn't stop reading manga. In fact, I think I read even more now than I ever have before. And it just reaffirmed that I much prefer it as a storytelling medium. And I have just as many takes and many opinions as I had back in Random C that I still want to share about all these manga that I read. Some that are quite popular already, and others that I think are good to give some spotlight to get others on board. So yeah, that's my little introduction about myself. And Enzo, why don't you take it away?
Hey, and this is Guardian Enzo, and you probably know me as the annoying guy who runs lostinanime.com. I am actually still watching anime, although I do love manga so much at the moment. I live in Kyoto, Japan. Very lucky to live in Kyoto, Japan. It's an incredibly beautiful city, and I am still watching anime. I love anime. I've always loved it. Anime was really my first love, and I got into manga a little bit after. But if I step back and look objectively at where we are right now, I think manga is healthy the more healthy medium than anime. And I think one of the main reason anime had such a great year in 2023, which it did, is because there were so many great manga it drew on as inspirations for adaptation. So anime owes much of its continued ability to survive creatively to manga. So manga is really that's the mana from heaven. That's the source. So it's also a more diverse medium and more welcoming of diversity in every sense of the word, but certainly creatively than anime is. There's less restriction to formula. So that's why I'm here. Really, is because manga is the thriving, healthy medium that I love, and I'm just anxious to have the opportunity to talk about it with someone who loves it as much as I do, like Samu does.
I suppose another thing worth mentioning, just on why we're doing this, is we've had quite a lot of back and forth conversations over the years on various manga that we're reading or that we recommend to each other. And now we've just thought, why don't we record those conversations and put them out for others to listen to? And I mean, we are going to discuss a lot of manga here that we both already have read and have opinions on, but this is also a good chance, I think, for us to finally get round to the series that we recommend to each other that are close to one another's heart and see where our tastes lie, how they differ, and whether we mirror opinions or we have contrasting takes on these sorts of series. So I'm really looking forward to those sorts of discussions that we're going to have.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting. And I was thinking a lot about this today is why I think this is an interesting pairing for a discussion like this is uh, we agree, Samu and I agree probably on stuff we hate almost 100%. It's, probably like 95% plus or stuff at least that we really don't like. I think our tastes are very strongly overlapped. But when it comes to stuff we like or love, there's a fair amount of difference there in his orbit and my orbit. Like we have another writer on Random C, Princess Usagi, and I know with her, the stuff I love is probably 95% overlap with her, but with Samu, it's quite different actually. So I think we have
Yeah, we
enough.
have our disagreements.
Yes, we have enough overlap where a lot of the stuff we recommend to each other can click, and a lot of our conversations can be very substantive, but it's not just simply him parroting what I say and me parroting what he says. So I'm interested in seeing where this goes, because like I say, it's interesting in that I was thinking the stuff we don't like, very very much in common. The stuff that we love, quite a bit of a gap there. So it should be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and just to summarize my taste as well, I should say up front, I am a bit of a Weekly Shonen Jump fanatic, and an
No.
unapologetic lover of battle manga. But my taste does go beyond that. I do just there is something about Weekly Shonen Jump which I'm a little bit obsessed with how is it that the most famous and popular magazine operates? How does it produce the hits that it produces? And just getting into the nitty gritty and the data of what predicts a success, and what predicts a failure. So I follow everything every week, have done for years now. So yeah, anything Weekly Shonen Jump, I'm well versed in. But beyond that, I was thinking back on it, and even though I don't necessarily seek it intentionally, I tend to find that my inclination goes towards josei manga. In terms of any demographic, if I was to give an average of how much I enjoyed it per series that I've read, that would maybe be where I'd skew the most, which maybe comes down to just my preference for good character drama that digs deep. But again, that can be found in anything. I mean, I like to say I like intimate stories that are kind of about nothing, or like all encompassing epics about everything. Whether it embraces it one way or the other, um, I'm fully all in. If it if it's halfway between and it's playing both, doesn't really know what it's doing, or something that escalates too much, I tend to find that anything that turns into an end of the world finale scenario, I it doesn't work for me.
Okay.
Um, so that's one thing that sticks out. And another thing, I think you'll probably agree with this, Enzo, is there's a lot of just like generic anime manga tropes or isms that I just tend to avoid if I can. If it's something, I think of it like this: if it's something that I recommended to someone who's not super well versed in anime or manga, and they would look at it or read it and find it quite cringe, um, a part of me is going to find it cringe. So
Hmm.
if it is something that like that is the dominant feeling I'm getting from it, then I tend to really avoid that. Anything that feels like, wish fulfillment fantasy, which is pretty common in a lot of light novel, visual novel.
Well, I think this, as I was listening to you, I was thinking, yep, it ties back to what I said about us not liking the same things, but liking things somewhat differently. If I had to choose, like I did, one of my, I do periodically on my YouTube channel, I do these Enzo Loves Manga videos. And one of the ones I did was I just picked 10 manga that at that time I really wanted to recommend. And without any planning or foresight, I noticed during the while I was recording it that 8 of them were seinen. So I think it would be fair to say that seinen is the demographic that I tend to gravitate towards the most. But as with Samu, I love some shonen and josei, shojo. I mean, it definitely crosses over. I tend to prefer character-driven series over plot-driven as a rule. And I've found over the years that I like series that kind of fake you out, that start out making you think they're one thing and then it evolve into something very different. That tends to be something that works really, really, really well for me. What doesn't work for me is a lot of the same stuff that doesn't work for Samu. I'm not crazy about stuff that's really big on tropes and cringy sort of cliche stuff. Harem romances, not a big clicky thing for me. I don't like them. I tend to be a big fan of sports anime. I tend to love romance and rom-com series, although with romance specifically, I don't tend to like shoujo as much as I like shonen and especially seinen romance series. Very big fan of historical stuff. Going all the way back to Meiji era and earlier. Love high fantasy. Not a big fan of light novel fantasy and the sort of the trendy new genres like isekai as and wish fulfillment stuff as is as in that's light novels are at the forefront of that. The sort of quote unquote healing series, which are super popular in anime these days, not as big in manga, but still big in manga. Not crazy on those. And the last thing I wrote in my notes to myself here is make me think and feel, damn it. So if a manga can do those two things, I'm a fan pretty much. That's me.
Yeah, I suppose one other thing as well on my side is I tend to be drawn to well written female characters in anything that I read or watch. Anyone who knows me from Random C knows that my favorite character of all time is Sansa Stark from The Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones. So similar to what you said about defying expectations, I like things. I like characters that you have an expected trope that you think they're going to be, but then they're explored in different ways, and expectations are shifted. And generally, I just find that with characters like that, even when you're not supposed to like them at a certain point, I feel myself already drawn to them for seeing the potential for development. I'm much more interested in a character that has growth from a not great place to a great place that's done well.
Absolutely.
And I think
Absolutely.
what else we were going to say as well was going off of our tastes is some series or anything that we do love, which might surprise people.
Mm,
For me, I would say I'm quite partial to a good BL manga. There are a lot that aren't great, but then again, there's a lot of series in any genre or demographic that aren't great. And there are tropes that I like and tropes that I avoid. Two of my favorites are Like the Beast and Here and There and Us. Those
mm.
are two series that are ongoing that I really enjoy. But yeah, I'm really drawn to anything that can tackle queer themes in like a realistic way, if that's what it's seeking to do. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of series that can attempt it and not do it well, and there's a lot of series that just don't have that intention, and that is those series are what they are. But anything which tackles those sorts of themes, that's that's what I look out for as well.
I would say for me, when I was thinking about this, and maybe some people who are old timers, I went back a little ways, but the first one that came to mind for me is R15, which was a light novel, then a manga, and then an anime, actually. And I guess what I take away from that is I kind of like series that look at uh, sort of I would say, and I like series that look at sex as an interesting layered thing and the impact that it has on people's ways of thinking. So some people, I guess, if I have a weakness, it's for series that some people might find to be trashy. But I like it if they view sex as a topic for character exploration, which I think something like R15 does and does very well actually. And I think people have a tendency to look at series and judge them on the superficial, and sometimes never get past that. And I think I tend to rally around those kinds of series. And I think R15 is one of those series because I was one of those people, and it took a couple of episodes of the anime before I realized, hey, I should seek this manga out and read it because there's something interesting going on here, and there was. So that's it for me. Probably that would probably be my niche that would surprise people.
That's definitely one that whenever you say that you like it, and this is from someone who has never watched or read it, I'm always like, really? That series? But I
Yeah,
trust that there must be
yeah,
something more to
there is. There
what it
is.
seems.
There is. Trust me.
Great then. So now that you've got an idea of our tastes, we're going to talk about various manga over all these episodes and compare and contrast what we think of each. And I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. See y'all soon.